There we are. Okay, so have your chair there, because we're going to start with that. And we're going to use it, you know, all the way through, really. And so now my back of the chair, I can't really get my feet through there. So and it's nice to have the option, at least, to have your feet kind of, especially if your shin is a bit longer than the seat of the chair, to have your feet over to the other side. So you come and really up close to the chair, and then bring the legs on, and then shuffle as close as you can to the chair, so that you can feel here the backs of the thighs and just behind the knee. That is also up against the chair, right? And you know, like you can see, perhaps in my case, the feet they just want to come off the end, so that the soles of the feet are not pushing up against something. You want the soles of the feet to have lots of air around, so there's nothing pushing up against your feet. Take your time to get that right. Also, it's nice to have the shins horizontal, rather than, if you find you're actually a little bit high up like this, your feet are up like that, you could put a cushion or something underneath your hips, or a block underneath your hips, so that you're up a little bit higher. But let's go for what's comfortable. As long as the feet are free, that's the main thing. And as long as you can feel the chair against the backs of your thighs. And then let the body, as we always do at the beginning of the class, just let the body get used to this situation, sink into the back body, differently placed, but the principle is exactly the same. It's noticing the contact points with the chair, with the floor. Let the feet relax, let the thighs relax, the knees. Connect with your breathing and let your breath travel all the way down the body already. I wonder if you notice that when you have your legs up, it almost just sends a message to the body that you're here to relax. It might be easier now to access that kind of restfulness and a deeper breath. And with a deeper breath, I don't necessarily mean a deep, like a big breath. I just mean deep into the body. Check in once more how much more you can let your legs go, feet relax. And walk the feet to the front edge of your chair. Take the arms out to the side. Just bring your legs over to the left. Coming into a twist. And let the head roll from side to side a few times to release the side of the neck and tops of the shoulders. And perhaps your right arm, as you do that, kind of rotates a little bit as well. Just to release the shoulder blade as well as the shoulder joint. And then walk the feet back up to the chair. And bring them over to the other side. Same here, same release for the shoulder, neck. Come back to with your feet to the chair. Just walk a little bit closer to the chair, perhaps with your hips. If you can't quite reach your hands to the legs of the chair, or perhaps there's a sort of a bar connecting the legs of the chair. You only need to hold on to that a little bit just to make sure the chair is in an okay position and stays so you can stabilize it a bit. So again, you step your heels up to the edge of the chair and then lift your hips up into the air. And your fingers kind of stay hooked around the leg of the chair, just so you don't push it away. The back of the neck lengthen. And then roll back down to the ground, vertebra by vertebra. Try and let the pelvis come down last. Just stretch the legs back onto the chair once more, the thighs, let the calf muscles relax. And then roll to the side and take your feet away from the chair. And then roll up to sitting. Just leave that chair there for a moment. And just kind of hook your hands, your fingers, your thumb and your index around the chair. Just make sure that both the legs of the chair are, equal distance away from your shoulders here. And then you let your forehead come down to the ground. Just hook your fingers around the chair legs from the outside. So the thumbs are pointing up. And then just let the weight of the pelvis pull slightly back towards the heels. Not so much that it starts to drag the chair along. Just the chair is there just to add that little bit more traction in the shoulders and along the arms. And lift up to hands and knees. And let your shoulder blades roll around a bit. Then come to sitting. And take the chair up close to you. So your knees are resting against the chair. Doesn't matter how high or how low your knees are. The hips will probably be a little bit, we haven't really opened into them yet. So if that feels a little bit stiff, that's okay. And then just pull the legs of the chair right up against your, perhaps it's the top of the shin, perhaps it's the knees. And then hold on to the chair and let that draw your shoulder blades back and down. Give you a nice height along the spine and in towards the crown. Perhaps a feeling that as you're pulling on the chair, that your spine, your upper spine moves into the body a little bit. And you're not pulling so hard that it's strenuous or that it feels tense in your arms, shoulders. Just that little bit again, just to give you that support in this lift for the upper body. And then let the upper body come forward. All the upper body. So you're hinging forward from the hips. You could rest your arms on top of the seat of the chair. Let your forehead rest on the edge. Let the weight of the body hang up against the chair. Now roll back up. You can use the chair. Again, the same idea really. So you're pulling on the right leg, and perhaps you're pushing just ever so slightly into the left leg, which will help you twist to the left. And then do the same thing on the other side. So the main action really is the pulling with the left leg. You're pulling, it's as if you're trying to pull the chair in towards you, but what happens as a result, because the chair is stuck there, that you're actually pulling your shoulder to the leg, to the chair, left shoulder. And then come back to center. And change the crossing of the legs for a moment. So we do our unusual crossing of the leg. Also here, just hold on, bring your knees up against the legs of the chair. And pull in, lifting the chest, length through the crown. Then hinge forward. Keep the spine fairly straight to start with. So you're really hinging at the top of the thigh. And then bring your hands forward and let your forehead rest on the chair. Roll back up. pull the right leg in towards the body to draw the right shoulder forward into a simple twist. And same thing on the other side. And come to lie on your belly. Again, you can leave the chair there. I'm going to bring the knees quite close to the chair when you roll down, so that you end up with your feet resting against the chair, the edge of the chair. It feels uncomfortable for your lower back, so it's too short for your lower back. Just move the body a little bit further away from the chair so the feet have got a bit more room to hang down. Let the front of the pelvis, the front of the hip bones sink down. The top of the thighs. You might even want to actively press them down a little against the ground. If it doesn't move the chair ever so lightly, you could press the feet against the edge of the chair as well to help with that downward pressure. Again, it's just that slight resistance that the chair gives to that movement that helps to engage through the front of the hip and make that more accessible. And with that light pressure of the feet against the chair, also lift the head. Creating like a bow shape. Hold for a few breaths. And then roll back down. Let's let the hips rock from side to side. Just bring the feet out to the outside of the chair on the ground. Now hold with the inside edges of your calves. Squeeze in towards the front legs. And again, with that, probably a drawing down of the front of the hips. And with that, again, let the head lift and support it with the hands a little if you like. But keep that action of trying to bring the legs in towards each other. Notice how that stabilizes your pelvis. This position. And roll back down. Bring the hands next to the chests. Leave the legs where they are. But again, press them in against the legs of the chair. And then lift the head and the chest into the cobra. Press into the hands. Come back up to hands and knees. And then walk into cat-cow position where you're free to make that movement. And come to sit onto your heels. And draw the back of the chair, so the front of the chair against your back. And bring your hands back. You might need to sort of, well, depends on the chair that you've got, of course, but can you bring your arms to the inside of the front chair legs with the palms facing out? Giving an openness across the top of the chest. Creating that lovely drawing together of the shoulder blades behind your back. Try not to arch too much into your lower back, so try to keep your tail dangling down. And let this action very much happen in the upper body. Pushing the arms out into the chair legs a little bit. Again, just to create that resistance and that engagement of the upper body. Try to let the palms face out to the side. So there's an outward rotation to the arms. And then let that go. Just roll down to child's pose for a moment to release the back. And then roll back up. Tuck the toes under. Come a little bit away from your chair. And then come to like a squat, but with the knees together and the feet together. Let the chest and the belly be in contact more or less with the legs. And then from here, we're going to round up to forward bend. You can let the hands come away from the ground and place them somewhere on your legs. Straightening out one leg and then the other leg. And then bend the knees to come up to standing. Okay. Turn the chair around. So the back of the chair is towards you. And bring the hands on the back of the chair. Hopefully it's not too high a chair for you. Ideal height here is kind of worktop, kitchen worktop height. So you let your hands, the palms are facing down, and you keep your hands active. So you don't grip the chair, you don't curl the hands under or let them go soft. The hands are active. So you're pressing them down. Just think downward facing dog here, because this is what we're doing really. So imagine you're having all that weight going through your hands like you normally have in a downward facing dog. And that same action, try to have the hands that same width apart if possible, as in your downward dog, depending on the chair, of course. So shoulder width apart. And then let your legs walk back. Bring the hips more or less above the heels. Let the head come in between the arms, creating this right angle with your body. Actively reaching into the hands, right? So think downward dog here, just without the weight, but the action is very much the same. Again, a sense of lift in the hips, pulling the hips away from the hands as the hands are firmly in contact with the back of the chair. Keep a little bit of action in the in the belly, so drawing the lower ribs into the body slightly rather than letting your rib cage kind of just hang down. So keep that a little bit active. So you're creating a flat upper back. Can you bring your head in line with the spine, the ears in between the arms rather than the head hanging down, or rather than the head looking forward? Letting the tail and the crown find alignment and lengthen away from each other. And then walk forward towards the chair again to release. Okay, it's really nice using the support of the chair to do familiar poses and see how that actually helps you to reach into it slightly differently, or perhaps align it, in a more, what feels better, in a better way. So one position that's also nice to do here is the warrior pose. So you leave one foot close to the chair, step the other one back. And then sink into that front knee. And you can use the chair, right? Just holding on to the back of that chair to kind of give your shoulders and your chest a nice position. It'll help you keep the upper body nice and long and upright. You can walk the foot all the way underneath the chair. Even if, depending again on the shape of the chair, but if you could even let your knee rest against the back of the chair, that support can help as well. And let your left arm go. Keep facing forward, and then bring that left arm up alongside the ear. And you can kind of, with your right hand, stabilize and steer this position in a nice direction. And then step back. Same thing on the other side. And take your time to kind of let everything stack nicely along your spine, your shoulders, your legs, your knee above the heel. Sinking as deep down as you can, knowing that some of the weight is now also held by your hands. And then let the right arm come up alongside your ear. And then step back. And come back to the supported downward dog. Yeah, and walk back up. Okay. So take, which way shall I best show this? Okay, so come to sit sideways on the chair. So you have the back of the chair to the left of you by your left arm. And in such a way that your shoulder, if you look over your shoulder, that's sort of to the middle of the chair, right? And then turn to the left. Turn to the left and see what your knees have done. So if you can, or you might just find your position first and then see how much you can sort of level the knees again. But then bring your left hand, you're twisting to the left here, right? You bring your left hand to the back of the chair, the outside edge, and your right hand to the other side. And then you can use, again, in the same way as before, use that almost to steer your shoulders. If you draw your right hand, if you pull it, try to pull that side of the chair towards your right shoulder. As a result, you'll actually pull the right shoulder towards the right hand, towards the chair. And if you push a little bit into the chair with your left hand, then that will push the left shoulder back. And then come to face forward again. Of course, you want to do the same thing on the other side. Show it this way around. Come to sit on the chair. So the chair, the back of the chair is now to the right. And then twists to that side and check in with where your knees have gone. And then in order to bring the upper body into a deeper twist, push your right hand against the chair and pull with your left hand. And then come to face forward again. Just come to sit with your knees wide. When you're sitting right up into the chair, but without leaning back. And then we come to round forward. Let the upper body come down in between the knees. And let your arms come down in between the legs as well. And then reach your hands back. You can sit further into the chair if you like, or come further forward into the chair, whatever works best. And then you hold on to the front chair legs with your hands and draw the head, the shoulders further down towards the leg, towards the chair. And then come up to sitting. Bring your hands behind your head. Interlace the fingers. Let the upper body shoulder blades rest against the chair. And then depending on how high the back is, I suppose if you have a really high back chair, this wouldn't work so well. But the idea is that you let the edge of the back of the chair push into the area behind your heart. And you kind of hang back, let the elbows come back, let the weight of the head rest into the hands. And then come back up to sitting. Okay, now for one of my favorite chair poses. I'd say well, I need to come a little bit to the edge of the chair, but again, it will depend on your chair. Just you need to have some firm contact with the feet on the ground. And then stack your right ankle on top of your left knee. And just let this right knee, no need to push it down, but just kind of let it settle. Let's see if you can just concentrate on letting the lower back, sacrum, the right side of your pelvis, the back of the pelvis. Can you let that receive this opening? Can you let that soften a little? It could be nice just to lift your foot and let it and move it around a bit to loosen that joint there. And then we turn to the left, to the foot, so to the left knee. And turn your upper chest in that direction. So a little bit of a twist. And then lean in a little bit towards that foot. As much as your, well, whatever gets stretched here will allow. Buttock muscle, the lower back, perhaps the inside edge of your thigh. It'll be very different if you let your spine really round and you let your head come down rather than your chest come down. And that might be a nice thing to do, but you could also just try out to not let your head drop too far and let your chest come forward. It'll be different also whether you let your foot relax, that right foot, and just be hooked there on top of that knee, or whether you kind of activate that foot, you flex that foot. No right or wrong or better here. So see, it might just feel a little bit safer for the knee to have the foot slightly flexed. You could use this connection with the hand on top of the foot to let the upper body turn slightly to the left. Or to the right. So feel free to roam around in this position a little. And then come back up to sitting. Take the foot off. Sit slightly to the side on your chair and then stretch that leg back, that same leg, stretch it back. Actively straightening out the leg. And then come back to center. We do the same thing on the other side. Just take a moment to let that knee settle down. Experiment with what's the best part of the seat to sit on, whether it's the front, the edge, or right into the chair. You could pick off the foot. You can move it around a little so to open out the hip joint a little, loosen the hip joint a little. And turn your chest towards the right, towards that foot, and then lean in towards it. See if you can take some of the rounding away from your lower back. The pelvis tip forward. And perhaps a wriggle or a twist either side. And come back up. Come to sit sideways. And then stretch the leg back. That same leg. Left leg back. Actively straighten it out a little. And then come back in. Come to standing. Let's move your hips around a bit. Turn the seat of the chair towards you. Take the legs wide. The hands into the top of the thigh. Lift the chest. Fold forward. Resting on the elbows, perhaps, or perhaps you can go a little bit further down. Let the forehead rest on the edge of the seat. Widen your stance if you had a bit more room. You can let the arms reach out alongside your ears. And bend one knee to stretch more into the other leg, changing sides. And then scissor the feet towards each other. And then come down to squat. And use the chair if you like to support that. And then come to sitting. Now you might not want the chair anymore, but I still find it really, it's a very restorative way of coming into certain poses. So for example, here, the wide leg forward bend. If you find that you often kind of just roll back, right, when you go into this position, then you can, have the chair here. You can just hold on to that chair, the legs of the chair again. It wants to be fairly stable. Hopefully, if it's on a sticky mat, that's definitely going to help. But it'll just help you to bring a little bit of length along the spine. And also, if you can reach that far, then again, you can let your forehead rest on the edge of the chair. You can hold on to that chair somehow to support this position in a new way, a different way. You can always push it further away if you want to go a little bit deeper down. Or just to have the forehead relaxed onto the chair can also, being in a more relaxed position can also open out tissues in a different way from your usual. You'll be able to relax the belly more. And roll back up to sitting. Let's put it aside. Bringing the legs back in. Stepping the feet a bit closer to the hips. And then rounding down towards the floor. Let's take a moment to just to feel into this. Just to feel how you have stretched this time, how different that is. If you think, you were to bring the arms overhead, for example, right? Just you remember what you've done throughout this last hour that has given you that stretch as well, right? In the supported downward dog, for example. And if you're thinking of the twist, in which ways have we explored that differently this time? And if you come for a moment towards a twist, you might remember that a little better. And what about the lengthening of the front body? Just hold on one knee and stretch the other leg out. How do we open that front hip here? We're lying on the belly with the help of the chair. Let's do the other leg. Step the feet back into close to the hips. Just let the knees move from side to side. And perhaps you can remember how we've opened into the hips in different ways. Okay. And then come back to center. And let the legs slide away. Support the backs of the legs if that feels better for your lower back. Let the hands rest a little bit away from the body. Coming to Savasana. And how are the legs resting now as opposed to resting on the chair? Allow that weight to settle down, as well as the weight of the shoulders, upper body, arms, the head. And deepen the breath a little, bringing some gentle movement back into the body, feet and hands. Reaching into a wake-up stretch, if you like. For your roll to the side and come up to sitting. And by all means, if if it feels better to sit on the chair for these last few minutes, as it's there, you might as well. If you do, just make sure you sit towards the front of the chair and your spine is upright in the same way as we would sitting on the ground, letting the hands rest on the knees. And letting the head be on top of the spine rather than in front of it. Any thoughts that come crowding in, just don't listen to them. Listen to the space in the body. And bring the hands together in front of the chests. Lower the chin to the collarbone notch. Release the hands, open the eyes, lift the head. Namaste.